Das ist der Digital Insurance Podcast. In dieser gesponserten Episode sprechen wir mit Dienstleistern über innovative Produkte, die neuesten Entwicklungen und aktuelle Trends, die die Zukunft der Versicherungswirtschaft gestalten.
Hi, I'm here with Nuriya Powell from Clarion Events, and we are going to talk about the trends and impacts in the insurance industry for 2024. Welcome, Nuriya.
Thanks so much, Alex. Such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Can't wait to have this discussion.
Of course. So tell me something about the ITC DIA in Amsterdam. What are your key topics this year?
Gosh, that's not actually a very easy question to answer because with so much going on in the industry, we were unable to narrow it down any further than 12 key themes for this year. So we are going to be sort of discussing everything all the way from Gen AI, which is obviously a massive keyword this year, and insurance, all the way to climate, aging and longevity and healthcare, and sort of all the topics in between: digitalization, customer experience, pretty much everything you can think of that's impacting the industry at the moment. We're planning to cover in June. We don't really want to miss anything out when everything is so key for everyone at the moment.
Very interesting. So what can we expect as an audience?
I have to say you can expect the unexpected. We really try not to be just another boring conference. That's something that we're really, really keen to avoid when it comes to hosting our shows, especially when it comes to attendee experience and what you're going to enjoy on site. So we veer away from the boring, shallow panel discussions. We really focus on deep dive presentations into those 12 themes that I mentioned. So we'll have very senior keynote speakers discussing for about 20 minutes on stage, going really in depth into case studies and giving sort of tangible insights that our attendees can walk away with on all of those 12 themes. So we're really highly sort of prioritizing networking with lots of events and stuff that we can sort of go into a little bit, but essentially just expect something a bit different to what you might have attended before. If you've been to an insurance conference, we like to stand apart from the crowd.
That's very interesting, actually. That really is very interesting. So how do you plan on putting this focus on networking?
So, I mean, if you've been to one of our events before, you'll know that we're not ones to just let people sort of sit around a table and have a chat. We like to sort of present ourselves as a festival rather than a conference. So we have lots of networking events, music events, pre-conference dinners, and lots of our sessions are very interactive as well. So we really intend to sort of connect people on site. One-to-one meetings are something that goes on all the way through the 2 days. And if anyone ever has any sort of requests and direction of where they want people to be, where they want to be introduced to people, we're always happy to help with that as well. So networking is probably our number one priority when it comes to making sure the show is a success for our attendees.
That's very cool. I mean, obviously, as an attendee, that's one of the main reasons why you would go to such an event, is networking.
Yeah, so we're well aware of that. And that's why we have, about 2,000 people attending. It's not a small event by any means. It's also not so big that you just get lost in an absolutely massive exhibition hall, can't meet anyone that you actually choose to meet. And we find it's the perfect middle ground. So you can actually walk away with connections and business cards rather than just feeling very overwhelmed and wanting to go and sit down somewhere dark. That's something we want to avoid for sure.
Very good. Very good. So when I asked you about the key topics, you said, first of all, you managed to narrow it down to 12, which in itself is a large number.
As it was, yeah.
But one of the topics you mentioned was Gen AI. Now, obviously, Gen AI is a major topic for this year and has already been a major topic for this year. How do you see the impact of Gen AI growing compared to last year, for example?
Well, it's been a very interesting couple of years in the industry, as I'm sure you're well aware, especially when it comes to AI and Gen AI. I mean, obviously we had the boom around the GPTs coming out. And since that, I think we're seeing about 90% of insurance companies at the moment either utilizing or currently implementing AI into their operations. So it's really not something that just a few large players are focusing on. It's something that nearly everyone in the industry realizes that they really have to be getting on board with if they want to be competing this year and in the future. So we're seeing it not just in the traditional spheres of claims and underwriting and customer experience, but really across every single line and business segment and team, because there's applications that range all the way from the absolutely tiny, minuscule data analysis all the way up to macro employee training and talent acquisition and everything else that comes in between. So, we're seeing individual companies create their own GPTs. Allianz GPT, for example, there's obviously been quite a big success there. So, we're seeing it absolutely blossom all the way across the insurance ecosystem. But obviously, there are a lot of teething issues for a lot of companies when it comes to this implementation. There's a feeling that it's a bit of a race and that you might get left behind if you don't manage to turn your entire organization into a AI powerhouse by the end of the year. Which people, I think, are realizing isn't actually a plausible kind of business goal, especially when you're a large company with a significant history and different layers of data acquisition that you've had over the years. It's really not potentially as easy as people would hope that it was. We must be very, very careful, especially around the customer experience and customer interaction piece, not to lose that human touch element, because that is just the number one thing that customers have pointed out is what keeps them with an insurance company, is how they deal with it when a claim arises. And when companies go too far down the AI route, often we're seeing that the humans feel that they're not getting what they need in terms of empathy in their interactions around a claim. So kind of one of the biggest, most obvious, if you like, teething issues that's coming out with AI. So people are sort of starting to be a little bit more selective, perhaps, with where they implement it. So yes, plenty going on in the space, but I think that we're going to be talking about this for a very long time. I don't think anyone's ever going to say we've nailed AI in insurance. I don't think it's that kind of topic that's possible. There'll always be more to do, but I think we're making really, really good progress as an industry compared to where we started off at the beginning of last year, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, you mentioned sort of a race, but is it really a race, or is it more like a leveling of the playing field?
Well, obviously it really depends on which area of the industry you're looking at, because the insurtechs, the insurgents that are coming in now or more recently are obviously finding it much easier to implement and integrate AI into their operations, because they don't have nearly as complex of a backstory, and they were much more technology focused when they were implemented, if you like. So they are sort of far ahead of the curve compared to the sort of large traditional incumbents. So if you like, it is a leveling of the playing field when it comes to the old versus the new. But amongst those individual groups, amongst the insurgents and the incumbents, there's definitely a feeling of what are my competitors doing? Where are they at? Where are they focusing? Do I need to be doing what they're doing? Where makes best sense for our business? So yeah, there's definitely an element of the person or the company who gets this most right first will be in a really, really good position to corner a large segment of the market, especially with younger generations now moving in and buying insurance. When a process is being simplified by AI and is a lot more technology friendly, that's going to really impact when Gen Z are sort of looking at buying insurance. So that will enable that player, whoever they are, to really corner a large section of the market. So I think that's front of mind for a lot of industry players at the moment, especially the top dogs, if you like.
Is that a factor when it comes to Gen Z choosing the insurance they want to go with?
Yes, I mean, I can speak for myself because unfortunately I am a member of that. When I say that if I was to look at insurance and they asked me to fill in a form that was longer than one page, I would just move on to the next one. Whereas with AI, obviously, you can provide a much smaller amount of information, and they can do a lot more with it. Is what we're seeing with the AI algorithms coming out now. So that's definitely going to be very attractive, along with not having to potentially speak to someone. Lots of people do like to speak to someone on the phone, especially, like I said, through the claims process or in person. But I can speak for my generation when I say that that's definitely not our first chosen way of doing business or making purchases. We like everything to be as touchless as possible. Call us antisocial, but yeah, we like efficiency. So I think that will definitely play a pretty big part in cornering this new market. Yeah, for sure.
Interesting viewpoint. And then obviously you also said something about teething issues when it comes to implementing AI. Is there sort of a specific thing that we as an industry need to look out for when it comes to implementing AI systems?
I mean, I think there are several, but the number one consideration that people are really taking into account is around data. I mean, obviously data is absolutely king when it comes to AI. If you don't have the data, if you don't have the structure, you don't have a hope of creating a successful AI program or implementation. So with that absolute essential role that data is going to play, comes a lot of issues around obviously data privacy, security, obviously the increasing cyber attacks we're seeing. This all allows much more exposure to things going wrong with data, which especially in Europe is becoming more and more unacceptable from a regulatory standpoint. So I think a lot of companies are extremely cautious / reasonably concerned that the amount, quality and usage of the data that they're going to have to now start looking into in order to create a success of AI is going to lead to some potentially catastrophic data privacy losses. I think there's a sense that everyone's sort of holding their breath for the first big breach to occur that's directly linked to AI, in order to see what the regulatory repercussions are, how it's dealt with, because obviously it will be sort of the first of its kind. And then everyone will kind of go from there to make sure that their own systems are really up to scratch when it comes to the data side of things. But yeah, I think that's sort of one of the number one considerations at the moment, because it's also new, it's also unexpected. But sort of on top of that, there's some people in the past have tried to, not just change the engine as they're on the road, but also, the wheels and the steering wheel and the chassis and everything, and found themselves, just sat still on the tarmac, if you like. So I think there's definitely a lesson to be learned about implementation in terms of whether you want it to be incremental and focus on really specific parts of your business that you can see an actionable ROI quickly if you can get that right, versus attempting to make your whole organization run on AI from day one. And I think that was a learning curve for some companies that now others have now learned from. So it really obviously depends on you, your structure, and what you want to get from your AI. But yeah, I think there's definitely a sort of focus on making sure that you're putting it where it needs to be, not overdoing it, not losing the human touch for customers, and being very, very careful with how you're using and storing your data whilst you're going through this process. So yeah, I'd say those are sort of the major kind of red flags, if you like, that people are very much keeping an eye on at the moment, as they probably should be, given how important those things are to the ongoing success of the business.
Yeah, and obviously the data that you use as a foundation to implement the AI model itself.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. I mean, the possibility for bias when it comes to training is a very, very real one, and it's a very difficult one to overcome. If you're training an AI algorithm on perfectly accurate data, but the data does create a skew towards, one conclusion or another, you do have to be extremely careful about that in this environment. So people are having to, employ experts on the subject to make sure that their training algorithms are properly unbiased, which is very, very tough. That's definitely another challenge that people are facing, because if they don't get that right and they do introduce AIs that have specific biases, then that's going to impact a lot of customers directly and reputation as a result. And obviously that's an extremely important part of being a successful insurance company. So yeah, you're absolutely right. That part is essential, and people really need to be putting a lot of attention into getting that right before they go and launch the AI, making sure it's as fair as it can be.
Absolutely. And another thing you mentioned was climate tech.
Yeah.
What are you doing, or what can we expect in the area of climate tech?
Well, we're not just focusing on the technology side. Obviously, that is a really, really interesting element of the climate discussion. But, climate is sort of, again, when we're doing our research with the industry, it's one of the number one challenges that people say is a challenge now, and also will be growing in the foreseeable. So it's a challenge, obviously, in terms of risk, and in terms of being able to even insure certain geographies that are at particular risk of climate related incidents. And it's also just in terms of the global economy, the operations when it comes to insurance. Climate will affect every single business on this planet. So insurers are also looking at their own sustainability policies, their own kind of ESG strategies, and making sure they're all in line with regulation and their competitors. But all that takes, a lot of resources, and it creates a bit of a hit on the bottom line, if you like. So there's a balancing act between the amount that you can do in terms of mitigating against climate risk, addressing your own footprints, etc., compared to making sure that you're still profitable in those areas. So it's definitely a challenge for insurers, and people are really looking for quite a bit of clarity around, especially on the regulation side, what it's going to mean for them if they don't hit certain targets or whatever the specific regulation is. But yes, on the technology side, it is absolutely fascinating what some companies are out there doing, and we'll definitely be hearing from a few of those at the event. And just discussing, again, AI and its implementations that can be used to assess climate damage, climate-related damage before a claim at a much larger scale than we've been able to do previously, and also sort of pre-warn against certain risks and exposures that will really help insurers to price accurately, and make sure that they're covering themselves as well as the clients. So yeah, it's a very exciting but also challenging area for insurance in general, but we're going to be seeing it come up a lot more and more, I think, over the next 5-10 years as the sort of global situation develops. I don't want to say deteriorates, but let's just say develops for now. Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, everyone is very much keeping a very close eye on that and what it's going to mean for them as businesses.
Now, you said that the ITC DIA in Amsterdam obviously won't have any panel discussions, but it'll be mostly speakers and or networking events.
Yeah.
Is there any specific? I know it's hard to narrow this down, but maybe you can narrow it down to a number lower than 12. Is there a speaker that you're looking forward to?
Again, that is just too hard to answer. I think I'm personally really looking forward to hearing from Bastian Albert, he's the Global Chief Data Officer at SCORE, but partly because of what we were just discussing earlier in terms of how important data is for AI implementation. So I'm really looking forward to hearing his perspective on that from a global perspective, because obviously looking at the challenges of data across multiple countries and languages and all the sort of challenges that come with that is a whole added level of complexity that a lot of multinational insurers are facing. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. But there's also Frederick Turing from Trig speaking on AI and claims prevention, which obviously claims is the cost for insurers. It's absolutely critical to ensuring profitability. So I think his perspectives on what AI might be able to bring in terms of lowering that cost for insurers, I think will be fascinating. And a lot of ears will be pricking up in the room, I'm sure, to hear what they can be doing in that area. But another thing we're really focused on at ITC DIA is bringing in perspectives from outside the industry, because insurance has always been reasonably sort of insular in terms of their approach to innovation. It's not the most innovative industry in the world, I think we can all agree, whereas lots of other external industries have a much stronger culture of innovation that leads such as we've got Booking.com coming to speak, who I'm really excited to hear about. I think it's Irene van der Brink. So she'll be talking about how they've managed to breed the culture of innovation all the way through their organisation, and how that leads to sort of cutting edge discoveries amongst the team that will again lead to profitability. So yeah, I think outside perspectives are absolutely essential at a conference like this. So I'm really looking forward to hearing some of those as well.
Very interesting. I definitely look forward to that.
Yeah, good. Me too.
So, I mean, obviously you've given us some touch points already, but what is going to be special about ITC DIA in Amsterdam this year compared to last year in Munich or last year in Barcelona, or what's going to be special?
Well, it's not going to be special. I mean, this year we're really putting the emphasis on senior thought leadership. I think that's absolutely something that we've really been focusing on. So the speakers we've got are quite exceptional, and the fact that they're all going to be giving sort of in-depth 20-minute deep dives into their topic, I think is something that's going to be really different and interesting for the audience. It won't just be wishy-washy analogies, just passing back and forth things we've heard before. These are sort of data-driven, action-led presentations that will really enable people to walk away with actionable insights. So I really think that's something everyone should really be looking forward to. I know I am.
Well, I am now as well. So you mentioned a sort of a networking dinner before. Are there any other evening events that you can recommend?
Oh yes, we're very excited about some things we've got lined up. I mean, it's not an evening event, but we do have a photo walk going on the day before the event for those flying in early, with a sort of award-leading lady who's running that. So you can sort of walk through Amsterdam and learn how to take the best photos possible on your walk on iPhones, and using AI as well to make sure that those are as top-notch as possible. So that will be really fun. But we've also got Our House is the number one spot for dance music in Amsterdam. It has been for a long time now, so we'll be there for our pre-party kickoff on the 11th as well. And then we've also got the executive dinner on the 12th, which you might be lucky enough to be invited to, but it's sort of invite only, closed door place for our top executives to network and get to know each other. So yeah, we've got plenty going on. Our networking drinks, as always, will be a blast. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to Our House, because I haven't had a good boogie to dance music in a long time.
Very cool. Well, I definitely look forward to that invitation then.
Well, I'll see. You have to be very nice to me. But yes, perhaps.
Do you guys have any other events lined up for the future already? Something, I mean, I heard rumors on LinkedIn about ITC London coming up, maybe?
Yes, indeed. We're very excited to announce our first ever event in London that we are planning for the 27th and 28th of January in 2025. This is going to be quite a different event to the Amsterdam event. We're looking at a much smaller audience, around 500, but with a really, really intense focus on seniority, very intimate kind of invite-only vibes, with sort of, we're already chatting to CEOs of some of the largest insurers in London and abroad. We're also looking at bringing a few top executives over from the US as a kind of first footstool into Europe. Yeah, we're sort of looking at covering, obviously, commercial, personal, specialty lines, all the sort of things that London is known for, but also bringing in the influence from continental Europe as well. But yeah, we essentially we really want to make it a very different event to those that are currently around in London. A massive focus on interactivity, lots of workshops and roundtables. And basically, we just want to give our audience all the tools and the knowledge they need to really kick off their 2025 strategy as best they can. So that's why we've put it right at the beginning of the year. So yeah, we're very excited about that. There'll be lots more about that very soon. And we'll be chatting to everyone about that at Amsterdam as well. So that's absolutely something we're really looking forward to. And hopefully we will see you there as well, Alexander.
Perfect. Well, I definitely will be there. And I look forward to hearing more about it.
Yes, I look forward to sharing it.
Very cool. Well, thank you for your time and for our discussion, Nuriya. We've reached the end. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I really look forward to meeting up with you in person in Amsterdam.
Yes, can't wait. Hopefully the weather holds out for us. Thanks.
I don't even know what the weather is like in Amsterdam at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah,
Probably rainy.
Yeah, if it's anything like London, and you do not want to be outside right now. But yes, fingers crossed for you. The venue has a large outdoor space, so hopefully we'll be all soaking up the sun in between the sessions.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks so much.
Thank you as well. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Das war eine weitere Ausgabe des Digital Insurance Podcast. Folge uns bei LinkedIn und lass eine Bewertung bei Apple, Spotify und Co. da.